Welcome.
Oh,
my friends, my family, my fellow scouting people, I salute all of you. And I want to welcome you to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. This is episode number 64.
Also known as Season 4, Episode 5, Declaration of War.
Indeed.
That's not ominous or anything.
They call me Eric. What do they call you?
Rachel.
Oh, that's cool.
Sometimes Lady.
Do you have a name?
I'm Peter.
Okay. So with that said, why don't we just jump straight into our recap?
Okay.
Does that sound like a good plan?
This was an absolute banger. Now,
oh my gosh.
Something I want to say before we recap.
What?
Is I wasn't sold on the whole reaction video thing. Personally, I was like, I just feel like that's the lowest form of content.
Yeah, we've been getting asked here and there about doing
a reaction video, but I'm like, it's just we just turn a camera on, and it's nothing. Like, it doesn't take. I'm not creating anything. I feel like I'm not adding anything intelligent. Like, the reason we do this show is because we want to talk about it. We want to break it down. We want to get theories. We want to like try to create something beautiful out of the art. We want to take the art and we want to distill it. But yeah, we lost our minds during this episode. So I'm like, actually, all right.
Would have been a
if
really
people
good...
would enjoy us losing our minds,
especially this guy who was like up on his feet on the couch,
like
an actual monkey might do.
I was gonna say toddler. He like got up on his heels on the couch and was like,
he was like,
guys, oh my gosh. I swear.
I don't sound like that. Okay. Do I sound like that? All right, everybody. Rate his impression.
This is a time of complete honesty.
Okay.
Guys. Hit him with the honesty, the brutal truth.
We'll try it. How's that? We'll at least give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot.
So everybody, that's that. This is your cue. I'm going to remind you now. You should go over to the YouTube channel. We actually are. What I was messing with earlier was uploading some of our extra content. If you're a podcast listener, you will actually notice we did post a special episode. We were also asked to kind of go through the intro of season 4, so we did that just recently. So that's our most recent episode besides this one. And then go to YouTube. There's other cool content on there. We went over the intro and the outro of season 4 and combed through to be like, okay, is there spoilers in here? Is anything really revealed? Like, somebody who was a manga reader basically like put us up to it. If I'm honest, like, there was interesting stuff in there, but there was nothing that jumped out to me like, oh, this is where it's like. I didn't have like an epiphany kind of moment. So, at any rate, why don't we actually do the recap? How about
I really hope that the next episode isn't just like the most boring episode of all time, that we're like, are we filling our reactions and we're like, oh, we saw that one coming.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine with the way this one ends. The next episode's got to be like the most dope episode of all time.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah.
All right, so Declaration of War. This one actually starts out with one of the most like interesting segments. Whatever. Okay, we'll get into all of it. Basically, it starts out with a flashback to I think this is episode 2 of this season, where Reiner and Bertolt Annie are kind of out in the woods near the cadet camp thing, and he's like, I keep having this dream. I'm not sure why that guy hung himself. The guy who told us, why
he told his story,
or why he told us his story before he hung himself. And they kind of had their different inputs, and then Bertolt ends it with, I think he wanted to be judged, which is super interesting. I think we figured out exactly how that plays into the rest of the episode. All right, so we catch back up with Eren. He's in the basement with Falco and Reiner, and Falco's instantly catching on to the fact that this doesn't seem like a warm reunion between old friends. And he's like, wait, what's going on here? Like, I'm being put up to this. We get another quick kind of interaction with Azumabito. She's got a long, difficult Japanese-sounding name.
What was her first name?
Her first name was something with a K, right?
Kimoto?
I can't really remember. At any rate, she's the Asian woman who showed up in the last episode. She's the one that Udo spilled wine on, and she kind of covered for him. So she just meets with Tybur real quick, and then she actually leaves. So we'll discuss that at length. And then, so let's see. I'm trying to make sure I cover all the deal. They make sure to highlight the fact that like everybody who's anybody is here. So all the top military brass, VIPs from all over the world, every newspaper that matters. And then, the episode kind of does a lot of interlacing between the scene in this kind of basement area with Falco, Reiner, and Eren, and with Willy Tybur, who's putting on his theater performance thing. Mm-hmm. And so he goes into the speech. He kind of recounts This is the first time we in the show really have had like a full like start to finish like a recounting of the Great Titan War, like what happened there, and then how it ended and so on and so forth. And let's see here. I want to make sure I actually get this all straight. Basically, Willy Tybur says that was like common knowledge before, but I'm going to tell you guys the real story. See, we the Tyburs who inherited the hammer, the Warhammer Titan, and because of that, we've also inherited the memories, and so I want to share that with you now. And so that's kind of his big reveal, and he goes into that whole story. Simultaneously, you'll remember that the warriors at the beginning of this episode, the different warriors who were there to like watch, were actually called away. Like, oh, General Magath wants to meet with you. So we kind of catch back up with them. We realize that Galliard and Pick have been set up. They've been put into some kind of like trap, and it succeeds. It actually goes down. We have a hunch that that's Armin doing that stuff. I think it is. And anyway, so then back to Willy Tybur. He basically discusses the fact that the real truth is that 100 years ago, it wasn't the Tyburs who ended the war, and it wasn't Helos who ended the war, this supposed hero. It was actually King Fritz. King Fritz was looking for peace, and they kind of contrived this hero, and they told this whole story. They sold it to the world so that King Fritz could run off to paradise, start his own island, and basically he wants peace, right? He takes a vow of peace, and he hopes that vow gets passed on through his Titan memories and so on and so forth. And they issue this like threat, which is, if you come and mess with us on paradise, we've got 10, this is what they say, tens of millions of colossal Titans, and they'll come flatten the world. So that's why nobody's messed with them, so on and so forth. So he finally reveals, he says, after all this, basically, like, I'm an LD and I'm one of us, but basically we all need to unite. The whole world needs to unite because that peace-loving Titan has been stolen by a rebel, and a rebellion has started on Paradise, and they're not in the mood. They're not actually trying to fight for peace anymore. They're not trying to keep things, like, peaceable. They're actually, screwing. They're aggressive now, and there's rumblings of war, and it can happen at any time. So he gives his whole speech. We catch back up with Reiner, and he's like, has this, kind of almost like not repentant, but like confession moment with Eren.
He's asking for forgiveness.
And then right there at the very end, the climax of Tybur's speech and the climax of Eren and Reiner's interaction happens at the same time. Eren transforms, and the episode ends with Eren having thrown Willy Tybur into the air, like he's going to catch him like a grape. Yeah, what the heck, man?
Oh,
and then there's some juicy deets in the next little to be continued part. But
that's a great band name if anybody wants to trademark that.
Juicy Deets.
Juicy Deets playing a show near you.
No.
Totes, bro. Anyway. Okay, so we have to get into this very first scene here with Bertolt, Reiner, Annie. They're walking around. We've basically already seen this, actually, and it didn't quite finish. We see just a little extra this time versus what we saw last time. And he's like, I keep having this dream, like this recurring dream, and I can't really figure it out. And it's about that man who hung himself, and I'm not sure why he told us the story. So to refresh you, the story was that this man told was his
family.
His family, he basically abandoned his family. So he's in his home, and he sees a Titan like come up to his window, and he's so scared that he just runs. He doesn't go back for his kids or his wife. He just gets on a horse, and he just runs. And then he's telling them this story. He's like a refugee now, and he's telling Annie and Bertolt and Reiner this because somewhere in the chaos of the events of the walls going down, or the first wall being broken into, excuse me. And in that, he tells them, and then like the next day he hangs himself. And they're like, why would he, Bertolt specifically.
Why would he tell us his whole story if he's just going to kill himself? Doesn't
make any sense. What was Reiner had some, they kind of all offer an opinion.
I think Reiner was basically just like, we'll never know. Who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Reiner says, well, now we'll never know. And then Annie's the one who's like, well, we ran from Marcel. It's not like we have any
ground to stand on morally.
Yeah, like we did, we ran in fear as well from Titans. Like, what do we have? Like, how can we?
Yeah, like maybe he was trying to confess to us his sin, but guess what? We did the same thing to our comrades, so
yeah,
we feel bad about that.
And then Bertolt gives his line. He says, I think he wanted to be judged. So this strikes like right at the heart of like one of the most interesting phenomena in humanity is that though humans are prone to do wicked stuff, they're like we tend to have a conscience, right? People tend to have a conscience, and the best feeling in the world, I'm saying this from experience, I think everybody knows this somehow inherently, the best feeling in the world is a clean conscience.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Like, the best way you can feel is that weight lifting off your shoulders of knowing you've done wrong, and your wrong is counted against you no more. So to confess and to be forgiven and to have the, like, you know,
Be washed white as snow. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Or in some cases too, like looking back and being like, wow, that was a tough decision, but I'm glad I made the right choice.
Right. It's like every sitcom, right? Like in the 80s. It's like,
yeah,
should I tell the lie or should I fess up? And they finally fess up and they're like, see, kids, you got to always tell the truth in the end and it'll help. And you're like, great moral. But yeah, I mean, it's
actually true though.
That's actually true. Like,
seems trite, but it's not.
Holding in hatred, holding in lies, holding in the weight of guilt, holding in shame, holding all these things in, it just causes it to fester on the inside. And eventually, like, all you want to do is just want to let it all out. And I remember actually reading a story of a guy who, I forget what his crimes were. He committed a bunch of crimes. I don't remember if he was a murderer or not. He escaped from the police and he was on the run. He was on the run for like 20 years. He was on the run. They could not find him.
That's basically a success. Once you're like 10 years out, ain't nobody looking for you anywhere at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. He was like living up, I forget where he was living, way out, you know?
Yeah.
And he went and he turned himself in. And they were like, oh, you know, statute of limitations thing. Like, no one's even really looking for you anymore. You're a cold case, you know? And they said, why'd you turn yourself in? He said, I just couldn't live with it anymore.
Wow, 20
I could
years.
not live anymore. Always on the run, always with the pressure, always the guilt, always the shame. I want to go lay down. I want to just rest. And that's kind of the plot of the Machinist from what I've heard. Something similar. So it's like, there's something true about that. You've got this guilt, this weight on your chest of the things that we've done, the sins that we've committed, the conscience that's always telling us, like, that was wrong. And all we want to go is we want to confess those sins. And even if it's judgment, we want a resolution. We want to, like, make restitution for our make penance, essentially. And Bertolt's saying that guy could have just killed himself, but he didn't. He wanted to tell us before he killed himself.
Yeah, he had to confess. And here's the thing: is the more I'm thinking about it now, I'm like his judgment Bertolt's assessment, rather, I guess, seems correct to me, because that is exactly how it plays out. Is he, like, feels like he needs to be punished, and, like, there needs to be, like, his sin needs to be, like, judged, like there needs to be punishment, and so he, like, confesses it and then carries it out on himself, as if that's what he deserves.
But he was like, he wanted them to tell him, like, how could you do that? He wanted to hear it because it's what he felt on the inside, and he wasn't okay with just sitting around everyone thinking he was a great guy anymore.
Yeah,
he's like, no, this is a lie. Like, I did something terrible.
Dang,
it's pretty heavy, but
but it plays into this episode a lot.
Yeah,
it does.
I was gonna say atoning for sin seems to be a theme in this episode,
and in the show, I feel like
the show in general. I
was doing a bunch of bench presses, and I couldn't handle it anymore. I stopped because it was like a weight off my chest.
Okay. Okay. Well,
there you go, folks.
So
there's your daily dose of dad joke.
We cannot go through an entire episode without having at least a little bit of that.
You cannot.
All right, so next scene, we catch up in it's the theater dressing room. We've got Willy Tybur. He's, like, getting ready for the big show, and he calls her Madame. So Madame Azumabito, I think. Again, tough saying her name.
Aren't you skipping the spot where Reiner confronts Eren?
Yeah, Reiner's standing there and
Yeah,
shocked.
I scrolled too far. You're right.
And he's like unable to speak.
Yeah, he's just seen Eren.
And Colt is like, I thought you guys were friends. And then Eren just keeps talking like this is totally expected.
He's so calm.
He says, yes, we are.
He's very, very calm.
And there's much to catch up on. Where do we even start?
And then Reiner says, impossible.
Impossible.
He's
and he looks like he's seen a ghost.
He's like freaking out.
Yeah, poor Colt. Sorry, it's Falco.
Falco, yeah.
Falco. I said Colt. I meant.
He's got to sit there and be like, wait, I thought I was gonna see these guys. Like, oh, brother, I haven't seen you in so long.
That's what he's expecting.
He sees Reiner like, who he looks up to.
grabbing his pants.
Like, and Reiner already looks super haggard.
Dude, he's been through it. Like, for sure. He's, again, kind of just like this episode, as per usual with this whole series, this episode has been very well set up by all the episodes that came before it. So this is the one where, like, oh, we know Reiner's backstory, not just because it's interesting, but because it's going to play heavily into how the rest of this, the fates of like the world kind of like unfolds. Same thing with the whole like Tybur with the Helos, like hero, all that kind of stuff was building into this. And so Reiner, we now know, had a hard life before Paradise, was traumatized on his way in multiple ways. Remember we were talking about his like 3 or 4 like big traumas during that episode? Like one of them being the fact that he realized he was told to his face, like, you weren't even supposed to inherit the Armored Titan. And then immediately afterward goes and like, his leader is eaten, and then he commences the mission anyway, and then ultimately ends up failing and goes through this all the mental rigmarole.
Watches his friends die. Watches the things that he starts to form an emotional attachment to get eaten and destroyed.
Yeah, and then think about that last battle in Shiganshina. We're still finishing our season 3, so we actually just went over this. But he just gets messed up.
He just blow the top of his head clean off.
Massively
I don't know if
he looks
Titan
like
shifters
Skeletor.
can not heal from perpetual brain damage, but this guy's got CTE up the wazz. Like this guy, if it's gray matter up there, I don't even know. Like, is it black matter? What does his brain look like?
Brown
mush?
We did see it in that episode.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. So like he's been through all that.
Looking.
Comes back home, and it sounds like when he got back home, it's like, well, A, you're a failure, but B, we still need you to fight on our behalf, because now that we've lost 2 Titans.
And most of the Titan shifters don't respect him. They freaking hate his guts.
They didn't respect him before. It doesn't seem like they respect him now.
It's like, why did he come back?
Yeah.
He went in because he thought that was the right thing to do, but coming back, he's like, I didn't think it was the right thing to do, and I don't know who I am, and that's why he wants to kill himself. Nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah.
So that's going to play in a lot in this episode. We're going to get to more of that. But we flash to the show, right? Willy Tybur has set up this whole great pantheon. Theater's packed, right? And he's getting ready in the mirror there, and we see Madame Azumabito.
We would just like to apologize to the nation of Japan for butchering your language constantly.
Sorry, dude.
Azumabito. Madame Azumabito.
I think it's Azumabito.
And she's got like this guard with her, and they look like straight up CSI agents.
They are the Men in Black.
They're ready to solve the crime right now.
What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
They're like
CIA,
the Secret
NSA
Service.
is what I was trying to say. Secret Service, NSA,
I think is what you're trying to
CIA,
say.
FBI. They look like they're like Men in Black
they
suits.
Are spooks.
Yes,
they be spooks. Yeah.
Yes, which is interesting.
Also, the guard, the Tybur guard guys are there. You notice how they're all super tall. Like I love how they're like. How many other shows?
Like I was saying, they're like the Irish cops back in the day. They like specifically look for 6-foot Irish dudes to be in the police force to scare all the people.
Like, how many specifically like anime or like, some not filmed in real life shows play this much into like things like the size of the characters. I feel like that's just such a central part of the artwork here. Is like the size of the character is like Historia is small. Like that's
Historia, Armin and Levi are all they're all fairly short.
Yeah. Anyway, it's random
interesting
detail I always notice. Okay, yeah. So she shows up and basically it's a really cash interaction. Like there's not that much that goes down. She just is like, oh, I want to wish you well.
Yeah, he's like, have you come to give me a pep talk? And he's like wiping sweat off his brow and talking about stage fright.
Yeah. She's like, no, I came to see your face. My whole clan knows how brave you are. Shakes his hand and he says, Madam Kiyomi, thank you so much. And
I hope you enjoy the show or something like that.
And then she walks out, and it just seems so innocuous, just so little. But in our opinion, this is the black spot.
Yeah,
this is the Judas kiss right here.
She has marked him for death.
This boy, because she leaves right afterwards, because she's knows
like, let us be going,
something
boys.
about to go down. Something about to go down. And a lot of people.
She just has that like placid smile on her face, like everything's perfect.
Now we suspected her from the very first moment we saw her that there was something different. Why? Because she treats Udo, who makes a mistake, like a human, which is not something everybody else is used to doing.
That would suggest she's at least an Eldian sympathizer, if nothing else.
Now we do know.
How far does it go?
We do know that some of the Orientals or the Asians in this world have some special powers. They're a different clan. We know that. We think maybe they could be related to Mikasa's parents and origin. Acronyms, so maybe there's something going on. This episode sparked that even further after we saw this, because who else knows that something's going to go down? Eren.
Yeah.
Eren and the squad, they know something's going to go in this episode.
Yeah.
And so if she knows and Eren knows, what if during these last 4 years, they've been taking the naval ships that they've captured and they've been traveling around to other parts of the country. Maybe that's why we saw spies in, parts of the world. Maybe that's why we saw spies in that other country, in the fort, what's that fort that they attacked in the very beginning?
East.
Slava or whatever?
Slava,
Slava.
in the East Atlantic. Maybe
There's
that's
a spy
where,
in there?
Yeah, remember
Middle
we saw
East
there was some
people?
spies in the back. I swear we saw spies. It'll come to me in a
I think
minute.
so.
But
In the fort?
not in the fort, but there on the ground. Because right afterwards they have that meeting. The military comes and takes over Slava, and they have that meeting. And there was, I think Eren or somebody was there.
I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, so we know that they've been traveling around to some degree, but what if they traveled around and they saw all over the world hatred for Eldians, except for one place in
the East. They call her, they in the episode before this where we see Madam, whatever her name,
Kiyomi.
Kiyomi. That's easier to say. We see Kiyomi. We see her before. They like comment on the fact that she's from the East. She's from Haruzu region or whatever. And so the theory is that maybe the people of Paradise have, they've certainly left the island. We find out from Eren later in this episode that he's actually spent some time, sounds like some, a serious amount of time outside of Paradise,
gathering intel. And we know they've recognized there's hatred other places, but what if they've gathered some allies?
That's what I'm saying is, like perhaps they did. Perhaps they found people who were empathetic or sympathetic to the cause and made good with them under wraps, And here's the thing is, I think what you're saying, there's got to be something to that, which is that, Mikasa we know is of Asian descent, and she's rare inside the walls, and I just have to wonder if there's some connection between her or the Ackermans generally, or something like that, and the kind of Eastern part of the world. So it's got to be something going on there. Yeah.
Eren, we flash back to Eren and Reiner and Falco, and Eren says, "Go ahead, sit down, Reiner." And Reiner's still looking like he's seen a ghost.
He's so freaked out.
And then he says,
He's
Eren says,
shaking and stuff.
"The building right above us is all housing full of people." And Falco says, "Did you hurt your hand, Eren?" And we can see there's blood on the palm of Eren's hand. What does that mean? That means
he
he's
lifts
already
up
cut
his hand
himself.
and points up when he says that. But right before that, he says, "We're right below the stage, so we should be able to hear everything from here."
It's great, great seats.
Then he points up and he's like, "There's housing.
There's housing all around us." And he shows, "I've got a bloody hand already." What does that mean? That wound's already inflicted, which means that any second, if you try to pull something, I'll go full Titan. We'll kill everybody. We'll kill everybody in the stage. We'll kill everybody in this building. It's going to go down. So you better do what I tell you to.
He has a loaded gun.
Yeah, he's got a bomb.
It's a bomb. He has a bomb strapped
here.
to himself, and he's got the dead man switch, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, I really need to talk to you, and you should really listen to me."
And this is how serious I am. I don't have a knife in my hand. Like, I'll do it. I've already done it.
Yeah.
You just say the word, buddy.
Yeah, because Falco's like, "Did you hurt your hand?"
So he says,
Which
it's just a
shows you-
scratch. Go
Which
ahead and
shows
sit down.
okay, I mean, I know we kind of assume this anyway, but that shows you the kind of control that Eren has now. Like, Eren as a character right now has grown a lot. We saw him grow just in the first 3 seasons to the point where he had a lot more control over his Titan, over his temper, over his kind of, rash decision making. He grew a lot as a character throughout those first seasons, but now we're 4 years beyond that, and we don't know what kind of training. Like, it's not, I haven't specified any of that yet. But the fact that he's now actively walking around, he can pull a Reiner. You remember Reiner season 2 is has this injury because the Titan, his arms are broken. He was bitten by a Titan, and he's walking around with it, and then he just goes, "All right, show's over," and then throws off the cast, and then just heals his arm instantly, and then boom, he's back. Eren has done some of this instantaneous healing stuff, but it doesn't. Each time it's kind of been
an accident almost.
He's discovering his new power. Yeah, exactly. It hasn't been this kind of natural thing.
Yeah.
And now it's he's got full control over that ability, so much so that he's been walking around without a leg or an eye for who knows how long, and as a wounded soldier, which means he took those wounds and didn't transform.
Probably.
And then has had so much discipline with it, has fooled everyone for however long he's been, like that. And then now here has an open, a wound in his hand,
wound.
And isn't transformed. And just is the full control over, don't worry about it. I'll do this in a second.
I would also like to say that the way he's interacting with Reiner and talking kind of reminds me of Levi. He's just eerily calm and emotionless when he's talking and has that dead eye thing going on a little bit.
I see shades of Levi, Commander Irwin, and Armin. I don't hear Eren at all. I hear all of those people's voices basically coming out through Eren. Like, yeah, he's been influenced by these people who taught him not to just fly off the handle, not to just see Reiner and let's kill him. He's got a plan. He's got it worked out. He's super calm, cool as a cucumber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Falco's like seeing some tension. He's like, I need to go, right? And kids, let me just tell you, if you're watching this podcast, follow your gut, okay? If someone seems strange, something's going on, get the heck out of there, all right? Run and tell a grown up. Yeah,
that's what he should have done.
But then Kruger says, no,
Falco,
I want you to stay and hear this.
Yeah, you stay. And Reiner's like, just do what he says.
Do what he says. Trust me. Now's the time.
Yeah.
It's such a, the tension of the whole episode is so well done, but this part especially, because like Falco has not put the, like he sees like, oh yeah, Kruger, did you scratch your hand? And he's like, no, it's fine.
Just a scratch.
He's like,
no bigs.
Just the
I
whole
actually
thing.
forgot to breathe a couple times when I, like after the cut, I was like,
It was getting so intense.
Well, and he's it's such a good, okay. This is also the first point in the episode where it becomes really clear. Now, we kind of had this like suspicion. This is what's going on. We had like, the theory was last episode, okay, obviously something's going to go down in the next one. And we're pretty sure that whatever's going on with Eren is part of something bigger. It's part of some kind of spy campaign. It seems like the tension's building. Something's going to break out. But this is the first time in this episode where it becomes very evident. Not only is there a plan, but like they're 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
it's an Armin plan.
This is an Armin
Yes.
plan. Armin and Hanjay plan, full on.
For sure.
Plotted resources.
Because first of all, you realize last episode when they were like, when Falco goes, oh, down here in this basement, I was like, oh, I know this trick from season one. Like this is what they tried to do to Annie, and Annie was wise enough to be like, no. But here he is back in Marley. He doesn't have any reason to be suspicious of Falco of all people to like set him up.
Right.
And here he is in this like tiny like condensed room like basement kind of thing, which is tough to transform in. Definitely not, two people as they mentioned later, but like tough to transform. They're in the basement. He's like, Eren's ready to go at any point, and he knows exactly who's above him. He's like, yeah, above us is a whole house like full of people. Like they're actually behind the stage, but they're still waiting for the curtains to be drawn. Meaning, like he knows the timing, he knows the event that's going on. Like he has all of the information. He knows all of it. They've got a full plan. There's no kind of whatever, nothing like missed details here.
Doesn't it remind you of the forest? The female Titans running like, oh no. We set this whole thing up months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had this thing in the works. We knew there was a spy. We knew it was a Titan shifter. Like, that was an Irwin plan. This one is kind of like has those like same vibes. But he even says, the very first part of the scene, he's like, oh, these are good seats, aren't they? You can hear everything that's going on the stage. That line was what made me go, he knows everything. He knows it all.
Yep.
This is all set up.
Yep. So one of our viewers, one of the squad, they wrote in and they were like, I'm not sure that Eren is there with everybody else.
Maybe he like went rogue.
Maybe Eren's like, no, I got to get over the sea. I'm gonna go kill everybody right now. And maybe all the Jean and people, they're gonna come get your boy. He's going crazy.
Right.
But when we read that, we were like, okay, that could be. But even before we saw this episode,
but that's old Eren.
I saw Jean though. I know I did.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're
too.
saying that Jean's like there to like collect Eren because he's flying off the handle. But I disagreed. Even though it could be, before we saw that episode, we were like, he's been spying. That's not something Eren does. He's been waiting. He's been plotting. Like, they've been growing up. They've been growing together. The whole squad is there. Eren, in the season 3, said, I can't just act on my own anymore. I'm part of a team. I have to value everybody in the team. I have to work together to save humanity. So, in my opinion, that's what he's doing, and the plan is super slick.
Yeah.
So, Lady Kiyomi says, let's leave. She leaves right before the big event, which is a terrible showing if anyone's paying attention. Like, wait, one of the most influential people is not going to be here? Something bad's going to go down.
Yeah, she's been sus the whole time.
She like sneaks out so stealthily though, and just like so smooth. She's just like made an appearance so that anyone would say she was there.
Yep.
And then left.
Yeah.
And nobody seemed to see her because they were all distracted by other things.
That's a good point. Yeah, she has her secret agent people with her, so maybe they kind of swept her away in like a real kind of stealthy.
It seemed like she snuck out the back alley to me.
For sure. I agree.
And nobody really noticed.
The next scene we see is an old widow who we know as Mrs. Braun, and she says, "Long time no see, Mr. Leonhardt."
Oh, remind you of anyone with the last name Leonhardt?
This was another point where Eric was like freaking out.
Yeah, I did. I was like, it's Annie's dad. Like, that's the guy from the
Yep.
flashbacks in season 1. Yeah, that was him. And so
and as you surmised, he looks nothing like Annie.
I surmised.
That was you.
That was
you.
yeah.
Okay.
He's like, I bet he looks nothing like her. We have. Why don't you give us your theory? What's your
All
theory
right.
on Annie currently?
Okay. All right. It's grown, and we're kind of
changing.
feeling things out. We don't have a lot of info.
3 seasons after the last time we saw her.
Yeah. But from the pieces we put together, we know she was trained incredibly hard, probably to become a warrior. She may have done that to save her family. We see this guy, Mr. Leonhardt. He's got black hair. He's got an armband. This is most certainly the person who was talking to her out in the forest.
Yeah.
But she looks nothing like him. And wherever she was at did not seem like it was an internment zone.
No, it seemed they were like out in the woods or something, I think. It seemed like it.
Our theory is she might have been connected with the Tyburs. I'm going to go ahead and say maybe she's related to the Tyburs and she's been adopted or co-opted or she's been helped or maybe she's I think there's something going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I have.
The other thing I think that came to me 2 weeks ago, was, okay, do you remember when Annie is standing there and Reiner's getting beat up and Zeke says, "Oh, don't cry too long. The commander will chew me out. You better hurry up." And no one gives him any compassion. Reiner's Bertolt's the only one to help Reiner out. And this is baby Reiner, this is crybaby Reiner. And what's Annie doing in the background?
Dismembering an insect.
She's killing a bug, right?
She has serial killer
She's not
things
just
going
killing
on
it,
here.
she's dismembering
She's
it.
dismembering it. Now follow me here. The next time we see kind of something similar to this, we see Reiner and Marcel gets eaten. Reiner runs off, right? Annie catches up to him.
Just beats the ever-living crap
And
out of him.
She doesn't just like kick him or hit him. Like, what were you thinking? She kicks the crap out of him. She just starts going ham on the boy. She just starts full-on soccer kicking him in the head, and she doesn't stop. And you can tell she's like letting out some severe trauma that she has on this poor guy who has nothing to do with probably the trauma she has. And she says, Eldians, Marleyans, it's all the same. Now, who would think Eldians and Marleyans are all the same? Somebody who's been hurt
Tybur.
equally
By both.
Someone who's seen the hypocrisy of people in power and people not in
Marleyans,
power.
yeah.
So that's what led us to the kind of the Tybur situation. But this also tells me we know there's been trauma to everybody, of course, because they've seen all their friends die. They've been a war machine. They've been lied to. They've been abused. But I think the abuse may have gone deeper. I think it may not just be the trauma of war. I think maybe she was
Traumatized as a child.
Those actions, when you get control, you just hurt somebody. Those are the actions of someone who's repressed their trauma. I don't know if it's just verbal abuse. I don't know if it was physical abuse. I don't know if it was sexual abuse, but I feel like Annie was abused as a child. She saw the hypocrisy of both the Eldians and the Marleyans. Somebody hurt her, took advantage of her, whatever it was.
Full of hate.
And she's like, she wants to control. When you don't have control over certain situations, you really take control over other ones, right?
Yeah.
And you like grab it because it's the only thing you can have stability wise. And so maybe I'm reading it wrong.
I'm gonna say it's definitely conjecture. It's like I see what you're saying. It's definitely conjecture because we just don't have enough to go off of because the only previous relationship, the only Annie outside the walls we've seen at all wasn't the Annie we saw outside the walls. She was stoic. She was her normal stoic self. She didn't have much of a response. She was kind of emotionless. And her dad's hugging her, and she's sort of sitting there lifeless. And he's like apologizing and is like, "Listen, the whole world might hate you, but you always have your dad. Like I'm always going to be there for you."
So what if Mr. Leonhardt was the person who rescued her from the trauma, and she's the one connection?
Maybe it's not. Yeah, maybe he's not. Maybe he's her adoptive father.
I was going to suggest that she's like Historia. I think she might be an illegitimate child of the Tybur family.
Oh.
And she was
cast aside.
treated in the same horrible way, probably. And then maybe this guy
like her adoptive.
Rescued her out of that.
So maybe her last name's not Leonhardt or something like that.
And she was put into the military like Historia was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just to take care of her.
And maybe she took on his name to hide her true identity and,
Yeah.
maybe it's all lies.
Yeah, does
Could
anybody
explain
else
a lot,
know?
though.
I don't know. We don't know too much. It's all just conjecture.
Maybe
We're kinda
she's
just,
also half Marley and like Reiner.
maybe.
I don't know.
We're throwing some out, but
yeah. So the
whole idea is Mr. Leonhardt. He comes and Mrs. Braun says, "Oh, I haven't seen you yet. Not since your son came home."
Yeah,
your son came
And
home.
my daughter
mentions that.
didn't.
Yeah, your son came home. My daughter didn't come back.
Yep.
And then they mentioned the Hoovers, which is so that'd be Bertolt's folks or whatever, and
Specifically his dad. I think
his
they
dad,
mentioned.
who's also recently died, Mr. Hoover. But he says he died very proud of what his son did on behalf of Marley. So, and then let's see, what's her name? What's Reiner's mom's name? I don't think they say.
They just call her
have
Miss Braun.
But they have said it
Miss
before. It's like a generic white mom name.
It's Linda. No,
Karen.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's not Linda or Karen. It's like Amber or like, gosh, I can't think of it right now.
Well, at any rate, she mentions like, your daughter having died, and he goes, she's not dead. She's alive. She made a promise. And so when he first said that, I was like, how does he know? And I was like, oh, he doesn't know now.
He has faith.
He believes.
He just believes in his heart. So whatever the connection is between the two of them,
There's
we know
something
it's
strong there.
We know it's incredibly strong. It's the only thing Annie's ever really showed passion for, really ever showed any real true like deep emotion for, is when she was about to die. She hardens herself into their crystal, thinking of her father, and is in tears over the whole thing. And it's like, instead of fighting on or do whatever she could do, like she simply preserves herself in the most permanent way she can think of, and the long lost hope that she might one day reunite with her father. So knowing that you're going into a crystal, and if you expire after 13 years, Karina,
yeah. Sorry, I told you. I told you.
That's
if
not
you expire
generic.
after 13 years, like you're out. Like if you're in that crystal, I don't, at least so it seems. Okay, so the next scene they go to highlight the fact that all the top military brass is here. We see obviously all the warrior recruits are here. They mention a specific name. General Calvi is even in the internment zone. Some of the warrior recruits mention him. Every VIP
Everybody's
from
here.
across the nations is
they
here.
mentioned like there's a lot of ambassadors.
The
and
backbone of
the
Marley's
backbone of Marley's
military.
Backbone of Marley's military. Every newspaper in the world that matters is here. And they begin to talk about the Tyburs. The Tyburs are here, and they're very powerful, but they're Eldian, which now lets us all in on the secret, which is that I was questioning. And he's like, wait, does everybody know that he's Eldian? Did he just announce it at that party? But I think it is common knowledge that the Tyburs are Eldian. It must be because they have the Warhammer Titan.
They're
So
part
couldn't-
of their family is part of the ideology of their society.
It's just it's a strange
It is
racism.
weird. It is weird.
It's a weird racism. Like,
It's
don't get
very
me wrong.
inconsistent.
I don't get racism at all.
All Eldians suck except this one
Right,
family.
but like, how
Because they could
specific in
crush
your
us.
bigotry can you be? Like, this
And-
is so inconsistent.
Yeah, the whole front row or whatever were all red armband people, the honorary Marlians, but they still have to wear their armbands. But somehow the
the
Tyburs
Tigers
don't.
don't.
But they do have special guards that all wear red, which is different color than the military, so they're still
They are certainly the Tyburs are definitely a separate entity from everything and everyone
like
else.
all the rules don't apply to them.
So right, also at this point, we also hear from a guard, a somebody. He runs up to the warriors.
A wild guard appears.
Yeah, a wild guard appears.
Mysterious
dun,
guard.
dun, 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 dun.
It's
I
a
guess
very nice.
that's how it starts out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he appears. If you guys get all of our references,
True salute.
You're
gotta
our
be friends.
people.
True salute.
if you can hear us mumbling through the Pokemon battle theme song and know what it is, you're a good one. Anyway,
Attack Titan. I choose you. Go.
so yeah, they summon. They go to the warriors. Say General Magath or Magath. I still am not sure how I want to say it. General Magath has summoned all of you warriors, and which would kind of like make sense. It's this big production. It's this big thing. You would think, if Marley is going to have any kind of parade, like if this were North Korea, instead of like tanks and nuclear missiles or missiles in general, you would be parading your Titan shifters. Like, look at our cool weapons. Like if you were going to do it, so no one questions them. Like, oh yeah, sure. And the other thing is that remember these warriors, though, Marleyan, whatever, not unofficial. What do they call them now? The,
Honorary Marlians.
Honorary Marlians are still treated like absolute trash and are still ordered around, even at the level
Even the
of
highest,
Zeke.
yeah.
Even the highest ranking ones, it's like, I can't believe I let an Eldian speak. They're like, oh my gosh, these poor people. Anyway.
Speaking of Zeke, they tell him to go to the gate.
Well, no, that's
Oh, we
next.
haven't got to that yet.
This is a really quick call. I'm just mentioning it because it plays into the next part. All right, so back to the basement. Utter silence. Utter silence. Falco's like,
Tension. Knife.
huh?
Nobody's saying anything.
No one's saying anything.
They're
And
just
Braun is
listening.
there, and Kruger's just sitting there. And what do I do? Like, you gotta wonder, like, what's
Eren does not know. Homeboy's got no chill. Like, he can't just be like, hey man, come on in. Like, have this, like, I don't know. I guess when you're in when you are in like retail and stuff for a long time, you develop like switches you can flip. Like, hey, I'm in my personable skill. I'm going to come personalize and be, you know, calm and charismatic with the people that I talk to and be very hospitable and talk to them open and show them like, hey, there's no animosity. Come on, sit down. I'm not here to fight you. No big deal. I just want to talk with you. But he's like, go ahead and sit down, Reiner. I'm like, this is not the way you negotiate a hostage situation. Like, kind of creepy. So he says, Reiner finally breaks the silence. And he looks and he says, Eren, why did you come here? And Eren says, the same reason you did. The same reason I had no other choice.
He's like being all cryptic. He's being all like Jesus in parables style here. He's like telling him without telling him.
Without answering your question.
Yeah.
But I am answering your
question
question if you're clever enough to find it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's basically just summarizing what the conversation they're about to have, which is like, I came here because, like, I have to, like, I came here by moral compulsion to save the world. The same driving force that animates you, Reiner, is actually what animates me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we'll get into that more in the next conversation. They really don't, doesn't say a whole lot beyond that.
The show starts, curtains come up, and we see the big production begin.
Mm-hmm.
Willy Tybur takes the stage.
Everybody's taking pictures. It's like a big show.
I do want to say, we did get a comment about how all the major villains in the show, their names are Willy, Kenny, Zeke, and who is the other one? There was one other one. There's like 4. And they're all redneck names.
Rod.
Rod, yeah.
Rod. Hey, Rod, Kenny, Zeke. Get down here.
Yeah, say
let's go take over the world.
Willy,
Zeke is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Ezekiel, but definitely, but Ezekiel,
Rod,
that's a redneck name
Zeke,
for sure. Yeah.
Kenny, Willy, get on in here. Like, it sounded like when he
he
went
has
to
something
Louisiana
against-
one time.
Yeah, and was like, these people.
Yeah, these are good villains. He's freaking rednecks. Listen, we're not offended, okay?
If you watch like some like American, is there what like American reality show like is like Moonshiners or something? I'm trying to think of like a
he's
show
just
that's
taking notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a great name. Oh yeah, he's a weird guy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the show starts.
Why don't you just recount?
If one of the villains ends up being Billy Bob, we're in trouble.
Yeah, Billy Bob.
Yeah, then we know for sure.
Billy Bob, definitely that guy's a villain. You can tell.
Why don't you recount? Just go over as complete as you can, because I feel like you took the best notes on what he said.
That's because I was taking notes.
I was busy listening.
The rest of them were like,
I was forgetting to breathe and listening to everything.
it was a good production. Willy captivated us. So Willy says, let's look back in time. And we see this, shadow production, very similar to that was used in the East. 100 years ago, Elida ruled. And from the founding of Ymir to today, they have robbed enough lives to eradicate humanity 3 times over. They've eradicated entire cultures and peoples, wiped off the map. The path of slaughter is their human history. And when they finally ran out of enemies, they turned on each other. The Great Titan War had begun. And as this is happening, we're seeing these slides. We're seeing all these people who are, bloody and they're falling down. They're kind of just painting the Eldians.
They had the shadow puppet things on the back of the screen.
Yeah.
The silk screen.
All the people have blindfolds on.
Yeah, they're painting all these Eldians as terrible people, and then they go to this scene in the Great Titan War, and it's just people. They're kind of dressed up as more like ancient Greek type.
Yeah.
They got all blindfolds on, kind of like some of our statues do. So we're not sure exactly what that represents, but there they are. There's the cart Titan. You can tell he's down on all fours. He's got a shield in his back. There's a guy with a big hammer, Warhammer Titan.
Warhammer Titan.
There's a guy with a beard, and he's got some brown. So we're like, okay, that's the Beast Titan. There's a guy who's a little bit taller. Colossal Titan.
Yeah, so they're all represented.
And they're fighting. And there's
he highlights the fact that there's 8. He says the 8 Titans, and we know there's 9 in total. And then you see the king in the back.
There's a king in the back that did not fight. The rest of them are fighting and warring amongst themselves. Their whole families are. And you can see the king is kind of in the back. He's not fighting, but also he's not really stopping them either. So he says, one Marleyan sought victory. Helos was clever. And the Eldian Empire was tricked into killing each other by manipulation. And joining hands with the Tybur family, they forced the King Fritz to flee and retreat to the island, though his power still remained. Tens of millions of Titans await on the island to trample the world. And to this day, the reason we haven't been trampled is just merely a fluke. Our scholars have no other explanation.
Dang, dude. So
that's what a stupid thing to say. Our scholars haven't. They just happened to not
yeah.
kill us. Yeah.
If ever somebody from like science tells you like, oh, it was just a fluke, it just happens that way. They're too proud to tell you, I don't know.
Yeah.
They can't utter those words. So if there's a certain documentary that has a certain what's the Ben Stein one? You know what I'm talking about? We're at the end. Anyway, kids, just listen to me. If somebody's like really, really smart and they have answers for everything and they're like, oh, yeah, science, this, that, and the other, and they're all experts. Whenever somebody has to quote an expert and the expert has to tell you, oh, it was just a fluke, it was just luck, that's translation to I don't freaking know. And like my whole theory's bogus now, but I don't want to admit to it.
Yeah, it's okay to admit that we don't know things. That's how we learn and we grow. We ask questions.
Pride keeps you from being able to say I don't know. So anyway.
So we go back down and it's this really beautiful scene where they're flipping between Willy on the stage and Reiner and Eren down below. They're flipping back and forth, and whatever's happening on stage also happens to be relating to their conversation. It's almost like Eren knew exactly what he was going to say and kind of planned his whole speech.
Yeah, planned his timing and stuff.
Listen at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to point this out really quickly. In Tybur's first part of his speech here, we know that he goes on to say this is like a common knowledge, common wisdom, and that there's more to the story. But even in this, there's not an explanation for exactly how Marley like subdued the Eldians.
Yeah, that never made sense
to
me.
the point that they have the Titan shifting powers like within their full control.
Yeah,
that's never like
that myth is a terrible myth. It doesn't actually explain very much, and I feel like probably minds like what's his name's dad, Erwin's dad would have been asking, "Hey, that doesn't make sense. How did a bunch of people capture the Titan powers?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, unless they had like really well-established traps and plots and plans and whatever.
Do you think we're gonna run into those? Because to my mind, like, are we gonna run into the Erwin, Armin, Eren types in the rest? I mean, sure we have to. More of them, meaning like there has to be other people who are like-minded, like Erwin's dad, the question askers, the inventors, the people who are like, this doesn't seem to add up. The government's been telling us this whole story. I don't know about this. Like, there's got to be, if not in this internment zone or here in Marley, like somewhere in the world, there's got to be people who are like questioning this whole thing.
We have, you know what they're called? Wall restorationists.
Well, yeah, sure. But I'm saying like, there's got to be like, yeah, okay, all right. That's the question.
Hardcore ones form a faction.
Do we still have wall restorationists specifically in Marley? Like, are they still around?
Resistors.
Did they survive the purge?
They don't. They don't buy the propaganda.
Yeah.
So we know this is propaganda, right? It flashes back to Eren. Eren says, "Hear that, Reiner? Isn't that why you broke the walls? To free the world, to save the world." During this time, we also see the guard, and he begins to escort Zeke. He says, "You go that way towards this gate." And he says, Galliard Peak, you know, you guys, you come with me. So he's got the Jaw Titan and the Cart Titan. And he says, you know, come with me. Beast Titan, you go that way. And as they're walking, Peak says, I feel like I've seen you before. And the guard says, oh, no, I was stationed somewhere out in this lake. And they brought me in here to deal with you guys. But I'm not here to chat with Eldians. So basically, shut your yap. And she says, oh, that's a pity. I fancy your beard. As they're walking.
She's like trying to flirt with him.
It's always interesting.
Okay, but like.
She's such an interesting character.
She is. I actually really like her.
She's almost like, it's almost like she's stoned all the time.
But okay, here's the thing is, Pick reminds me, she's a Sasha-like character in that like she's a little non-serious. In a world full of very serious characters and people, she's kind of like a little on the not so serious, like doesn't have a lot of enemies, isn't like nobody's like pissed her off. She's just like kind of being herself. I like people like that in real life who are chill like that, and I feel like I'm like, sister, you can't be all bad. Like you seem kind of cool to me. Like maybe not. Like Galliard's got a chip in his shoulder. Like we'll see where he goes. But
maybe she might join.
I mean, I would hope that all the Titan shifters are like, okay, you know what, you're right. Like we're treated like garbage. Like let's join in here. What was I gonna say? Yeah, the
Panzer unit.
No, the fact that they don't show the face of the said soldier.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 comments. All right, you already said we think this is Armin or no?
I didn't say that, but immediately when we saw this guy, we were like, "That's a spy," and Rachel was like, "That's Armin," and I was like,
"The blonde hair."
The blonde hair. He looks like he's got a beard. I said
that's Armin like 5 times.
Yeah.
Now,
and then we heard his voice, and we're like, "That's Armin."
Yeah, the voice, because it is a female voice actor, and she's got to like Maybe
deepen her voice a little bit.
I'm sure they do some, there's plenty of, I do audio work, so there's plenty of things you can do to make somebody sound like a different gender. But at any rate, like, they don't show the face. He's blonde. But the thing is that there's some distinct differences. Obviously, we're a few years into the future, and so they were essentially teenagers while the events of seasons 1 through 3 were going on. And now they're like young adults. So it would make sense that this guy, because whoever this guy is much taller. He's much taller than Armin was. And I'm like, all right, Armin's grown or could have grown. Or maybe when you inherit the Beast Titan.
I was going to say, he's the Colossal Titan, so maybe he's just taller.
Bertolt was tall.
Yeah, just automatically.
Bertolt was the tallest.
The question is, did he hit the gym and did he get a haircut? That's the question. For
he did get a haircut.
You gotta
and
hope
he
for
grew
the
a beard.
haircut.
You gotta hope for the haircut. I'm hoping he's been lifting some weights and.
Also, Team Becca and Eric pointed out, because in this shot they like show the strap, the chin strap beard, and I was like, we're like, oh yeah, it's a beard. And you guys are like, no, it's his helmet strap. I'm like, no, it's a chin strap beard. It's furry, okay, and it was a beard. And it's
a good call.
Good job.
Anyway, continue.
So they see this Panzer unit, and they're like, oh, that's Peak, and Peak runs over to these guys, and we realize that these are the people that rode on the Cart Titan into the war.
It's a little odd. I'm still not 100%. They're the Panzer unit. They did ride on the Cart Titan, but they're not Eldians. They don't have armbands on. Mm-hmm. They see her, and she's all excited to see them. She like hugs them, and they're kind of weirded out by the fact they've even made contact.
She hugs one of them, and then they all are like,
yeah.
They're almost like nerds at Comic-Con. If like, I don't know, Captain Picard was like, hi, and shook their hand, they'd just be like, he touched my
Yeah,
I don't think that's the freak out is
because she's an Eldian.
Yeah, she's Eldian. She's bad blood.
Like, I've been contaminated.
That's what I think.
I couldn't tell which one it was.
I couldn't tell either. And the scene is so quick, and it's just shoved right in the middle of this really tense situation. It's almost like a throwaway, but like.
Well, no, there's two. Okay, this shot, this little piece of information, and it's never all for naught. Like there's never useless information in Attack on Titan. It's never just a casual thing. So the interaction we saw earlier between Mr. Leonhardt and Mrs. Braun, there's a purpose for that. Mm-hmm. Definitely going to play into something in the future. This one is the same thing. This whole Panzer unit thing, there's a role here. There's got to be. Yeah. Anyway, so this is where they walk in. So they start talking about the bond. Like, oh yeah, like it was okay for me to go and hug them because there's a bond. Yeah, it makes a bond that forms when you're part of a unit. You go into war together, and like, Galliard responds like, I think you might have just ruined that bond, and they're like all freaked out looking. So this is where, they've already sent Zeke away. Like, oh, somebody wants you at the gate. So Zeke walks away. It's just Galliard and Peak. They walk into this room with the guard, and nobody else is in there. And he takes them in, and he kind of squeezes out the door and looks at him. They're like,
she's like, where's General McGath?
What's going on here?
Pulls a knife, slices the cord right as she says, Galliard. Trapdoor opens and falls, and he doesn't even look back.
But they do show his eyes.
They do
right when he cuts the thing, and those are Armin's eyes.
For sure.
Dude, this scene, okay, we lost our minds when this scene happened.
This is one of the ones where I was like up on the couch, like, oh my
gosh! The music, the tension, and all of a sudden, all of our dreams are coming true right now. It's not some Eren crazy slap together plan where they're always on the defense.
It's coordinated.
Is them on the attack, and they're doing their plan, and it's working.
And it's on purpose, and it's coordinated. Like this scene specifically, when you see the trapdoor go, that's the reason I freaked out. I was like, look at this. It ain't just here. They're all in on it. Yep. Not only are they all in on it, they're 10 steps ahead. Like the one thing that they never like, Marley is so arrogant and so proud that the thing that they never thought would happen is that they would be directly invaded by the people of Paradise. They just thought they were so full of themselves. Just thought, nope, couldn't possibly be.
There's no way this could happen.
What's interesting to me is the fact that there's two scenarios here. One scenario is that the invaders from Paradise have so much intel on every city, and they're so planned out that they literally have discovered blueprints for houses and figured out where there have already been built trapdoors, and they utilize a Marleyan trapdoor for themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they mentioned that later, yeah.
They took the time to build their own trapdoor.
Oh my gosh.
In a house and lead somebody to it.
Infiltrated, like
either way.
Think about how leaky your organization must be how full? Because remember they said that we think the house may be full of rats. General Magath is one. I think the house may be infested with rats. I kind of wonder if he's sort of onto it. If he thinks,
he says they say that the house is full of rats.
Yeah, well, and if the house was full of rats, it would be full of not only just like Eldians from Paradise, but perhaps people they've co-opted, like double agents and other like. They've got a lot of people in on this whole gag here, and they're like. They've been planning it. They had somebody. They didn't even need to go in and build these trapdoors and a whole thing. Like they had somebody else
Maybe
put it
they
in
were
for
already
them.
built. It seems like when they fall into the trapdoors, we do come back to see them in a later scene, and Galliard says these must be the tight warrior containment traps or something like that. So maybe Marley does have these throughout as a safeguard. To save them from warriors.
Just in case somebody starts to go rogue, I need to put them down somewhere.
But
well, it seems like it was just deep enough that they broke several limbs when they hit the ground.
And they can't transform because they'll just get crushed in there.
Yeah, not one of them, definitely not two, yeah.
But the idea, what I was trying to bring up is either they're so embedded in the culture that they're constructing their own traps among Marleyan buildings, or they know everything about Marley so much that they know even where the traps are.
Yeah, the
either
intel.
way, they're in like a hot tick. And what's the quote from Predator?
Oh yeah.
They're dug in like a tick and
a tick on a dog on a hot summer day in Alabama, or something like that. It's gross sounding.
Jesse Ventura, rip. Oh, is he still alive?
I don't know.
Let me tell you something. They're dug in like a tick and I don't know. It's hotter than 2 barrels of heck in here. Let's go.
Okay, so then it cuts to a quick cut of General Magath, and he's like, I don't care how small it is, report everything to me. We're starting to catch on to the fact that he is indeed suspicious, that something might go down here tonight that's untoward, he's not looking forward to. Then we come back to Falco, and Falco's like starting to put it all together. He's kind of like, wait a second, like, if they're old friends,
why is he scared?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is he scared? And if they're old friends, if they've been friends for more than 4 years, then maybe they met on Paradise. And if they met on Paradise, he's like, is it even, it's impossible. But he's starting to put the pieces together like, wait a second, this could be the guy. This could be the Eren Yeager. And so right as that's going on, we get back to Willy Tybur. And he starts to put the kibosh on the old story. He's like, listen, the story I told you so far is common knowledge. You all clapped for it, but the truth is very different. The Tyburs have inherited the memories from the Warhammer Titan, and I plan to reveal that story to you right now. So 100 years ago, it was neither the Tyburs nor the Marleyans who actually ended the war. It wasn't Helos, it wasn't the Tyburs. The one who ended the fighting and saved the world, I think that's the key phrase, a very operative phrase so far, is King Fritz. He was anguished. Basically, he was in pain over the fact that they just had this long history of war and brutality, the Eldians, and he was pained by the endless oppression of Marley. So he's basically, whoever this king was kind of witnessing all this fighting, all the war, and kind of was like, yeah, actually, I don't really like this. I'm not into it. So Carl Fritz, I believe is his first name. They mentioned his name here. So when Carl Fritz, when he inherits the Titan, he inherits the founding Titan. He gets together with the Tyburs and they fabricate a hero. So Helos is a myth. Did he exist? Maybe. Maybe he didn't exist at all. I don't know. It's hard to say. But the story of Helos isn't actually true. And so they fabricate the myth of Helos in order to sell that to everybody, in order to give a good reason. And then when he takes off when King Fritz takes off to the island, he threatens everybody with thousands of these colossal titans are going to come and they're going to flatten the whole world. But the truth is that was never his intention. So he made a vow and he renounced war, and the whole purpose. This is what he's selling now. Is like, listen, what actually happened, what actually ended the wars, was somebody had a really strong desire for peace and they were in a position of power and they cut a deal between the Warhammer and King Fritz, right? And they had compassion on the Marleyans, and they're like, listen, we're going to let the Marleyans go. We're going to stop all the fighting, and the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to take my king power and go to this island, this distant island, form a whole new society, threaten everybody so nobody shows up there, and I'm going to basically bury this power, and I'm going to make a vow against war so that whoever inherits my power doesn't want war anymore, which explains everything in the first half of that last middle portion basically of season 3. Yuri, who had it, Frida, who had it, everybody who's royal, who's inherited this founding Titan power. And remember, you find this out in season 3. Like, for whatever reason, they never want to set everybody free.
It says one of the characters at one point said they're enslaved to his will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His ideology, yeah.
And
It's like
so,
they can't make a different choice, even if they want to,
yeah.
because of their bloodline.
And so he basically continues along these lines, and he really does talk about how it was the shame of being like a murderer and coming. Cause this is again a really like common thing throughout the all of season 4 is that everybody feels like guilty for what like the Eldians did years ago, as if there was lots of bloodshed and our ancestors were so bad, and they were so bad that even we deserve to bear the punishment of their sins, and we should never let us go forth again. And King Fritz apparently felt that more than anybody. Now that's presuming all this story is even true.
I don't buy it.
Everything that comes out of these people's mouths,
why would he just take some of his people and leave some behind?
Well, because some of them are in war, some of them are fighting each other. So I mean, that could be that's possible.
He says, let me just finish real quick.
Okay.
He says, that is the one keeping our world safe. That vile king beyond the walls, all he wanted was peace. And he even said, if Marley is ever free and strong enough to come claim the founding Titan, I would let them. Because he believed the sins of the Eldians were so grave they could never be atoned for. However, until that day of retribution, let me savor a brief paradise free of conflict within the walls. So he kind of stops there, and everyone reacts.
I think it's more propaganda. They're crying at this point.
They're crying.
Plotting the whole 9 yards.
So
he's crying.
Why do they say paradise is a threat then, if this is the way the king is? Right? And he says, in exchange for your safety, the Tybur family sold out the Eldians, joining King Fritz. Yeah, we are no more than traitors living in luxury. The reason I stand here and tell you
part with the sham.
The part with the sham is because our world is in peril.
Yeah. So again, this is propaganda, dude.
So
there's no way.
Let's just pause right here, okay?
This story is way too pretty. I smell a rat.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, so there's lots of quotes on this. I can't think of a good one right now, but it's like not the way the story is. It's how you spin it, right? It's how you tell the story. And people have a loose relationship with the truth, and they're pretty
especially
flexible.
People like this, especially political people like this.
And they're able to take certain facts and omit certain things and make things sound like maybe they are. Now, here's what I do believe. I do believe that the founding Titan did leave because he wanted peace. Uri Fritz said this. He said, Uri Rice, I guess. He said, I was so naive to think I could establish a paradise, a utopia within the walls. And even here, there's death and there's inequality, there's hatred. So we know that is his motivation. That was the founding king's motivation, was to go there.
That part sounds right, yeah.
I believe he did strike a deal with the Warhammer Titan to go. But here's the thing. If the king has everybody at peace and everybody is within the walls and they're not going to invade, why then did Marley send 4 invaders to go mess everybody else up who's living in peace on the island, who has no intention of leaving the island? Why do they send 4 invaders to go
in the first place? Yeah.
Second, the whole idea was to stop all the bloodshed, to stop all the war.
Yeah.
The king must go away. It wasn't the king who was causing the bloodshed.
Right.
It was these other 8 Titans. And guess what they're doing? They've continued the cycle of bloodshed. They've continued the cycle of war so much so, and now there's no one to stop the bloodshed and the war, right? The king, instead of running away, should have stayed and said, no, I'll fight all y'all until we stop the cycle of bloodshed. He didn't stop the cycle of bloodshed. He didn't end the war. He just removed himself from it and let everybody else suffer the consequences of Titans on the leash of Marley. And that, to me, is why this is a bunch of bullcrap, fed up, and of course it ends perfectly. It ends just the way he wants it to. Oh, can you ever forgive me? But now, we must now join together.
He talks about how he hates himself and he curses his own blood.
I hated my own blood, even though...
And then he starts crying and stuff.
You think you hate yourself? If you hated yourself, you would go endure the same fate as your brothers and sisters you sold into slavery, but you don't. You're a hypocrite. You live in luxury and say, oh, yes, I'm so bad. But you didn't give up your life. You didn't give up your goods. You didn't give up your luxury, bro. You're a freaking liar. Nothing you say is sincere.
Yeah.
This guy is the devil himself, and I hope he gets eaten.
He's in a nice suit, though, and he has a great haircut.
He does look great.
Okay, this brings up a really interesting point right here. Okay, so here we have Willy Tybur, and this is something I've been thinking about recently, just in light of recent events and just like life in general. But the truth is, especially in Western culture, like we all get raised on these stories where the villain is very easy to identify. Cruella de Vil is the villain, right?
She looks
Why?
crazy, bulging eyes.
She wears black.
She wears black and
She's
white.
rude to everyone.
She's mean.
She
Yeah.
looks like a witch.
She has no human emotions.
Okay, Die Hard. Who's the bad guy?
Hans Gruber.
Why is he bad? How do you know he's the villain?
Because he's foreign.
Listen to his name.
This is an adult. Yeah, okay, this isn't a grown-up movie, but it's a grown-up movie that takes the same absolutely not based in reality trope and just says, okay, the bad guy
is the obvious choice.
It's easy to identify
Henry V.
because he does all these bad things. I still see it all the time on like modern TV shows. Whoever like the villain is in that episode is like dressed in black and like we watch like Burn Notice. I love Burn Notice, but like the villains are always like so easy to identify. Like there's just such jerks. Like you have no way to like relate to them. No, you can't have any compassion. So fast forward to like our present decade, and entertainment has taken a new spin on villains, which is there's no such thing as villains. It's just everybody's complicated, right? Black Panther, classic example. Black Panther, the most recent Star Wars films, there is no villains. There's a couple of villains in Star Wars, but they're just throwaway characters that are like, oh, they're so bad, we can just delete them. But like the people who have bad intentions and stuff they have to like come out and tell you this is the villain, and then they have to come out and tell you like, actually, he's not really a villain. He's just somebody you should feel sorry for. He had a rough childhood. So
yeah,
that's the Black Panther
you
one.
shouldn't judge him as the villain.
That's the Black Panther story. It's like, oh yeah, you just don't judge him. Like you know, like he had a rough childhood, and it's okay. He like didn't mean it. He's gone now, and Black Panther didn't have to kill him. It was just an accident. And they had a big epic fight, and the whole thing again. There's no moral continuity to that. That is a sign of a culture in decline. By the way, like there's no actual moral standard there. It's just everybody's the same. Also incorrect. Let's set the record straight, which is what I feel like Isayama's doing in this episode right now. He's setting the record straight on what is a villain and what is evil. Evil does not come to you in looking like Dante's Inferno with a little, pitchfork and horns and the pointy tail and like a ugly looking mustache and like Cruella de Vil and like these classic villains. Everybody thinks they're going to recognize, like, I would know evil when I saw it. No, you wouldn't, because you think evil is obvious, and the problem with evil is the main characteristic of evil is that it's not obvious, it is deception. The main evil perpetrated on the world by any human at any point is deception. You think Hitler came out and just was like, hey, I'm a bad guy, everybody, so I have bad intentions. I want to kill everybody. No, he didn't. He came out and said, I'm the good guy. He was a great orator. He was inspiring. Everybody believed him. This is what happened in the Russian Revolution. This is what happened with Mao. This is what happened with every bad character in history. This is what happens today with serial rapists and murderers. They're sociopaths who are likable. They dress nice. They sound nice. They look and smell good. And it's been true since the garden to now is that evil... that was the first evil perpetrated on humanity, right? It is the Adam and Eve story. Is the snake come and he deceives. He doesn't punch.
He doesn't come out either. He doesn't say.
He just asks a question.
I'm the bad guy, and you must hate God. You must hate all good things. He said, did God really say?
All he does is raise a question. Evil, the worst kind of wickedness in evil, in reality, in the real world, the worst kind of evil and wickedness always comes dressed in a nice suit and a smile every single time. They're on your news cameras. They're out. They're out in schools. It's real. Like evil is still out there. It's very real. It's just hard to recognize. And I feel like that's exactly this episode. This moment is like cueing in on this because the way it ends is Tybur, who's got everybody in tears and like, well, my emotions are involved. He made me cry. There's no way he could be wrong. There's no way this could be a bad thing. That's deception. That's deception at its finest. And here you have the true villain who looks great and is dressed in a nice suit, and then out pops the true hero who looks like a monster. and people are I'm just saying this is like such an allegory for like our world like right now. Like people cannot recognize somebody as a hero because like, no, you're too rough, you're too this, that, and the other, and they cannot recognize the devil because he comes saying that he's trying to do the right stuff. And I feel like this vibe or whatever is, I feel like this might continue. I feel like this whole like story of propaganda versus the truth.
Will we ever actually know the truth?
It's going to continue because like that's kind of the story that's been building so far, and this is exactly what we just got from Tybur. Anyway, there's my rant.
Yeah, I think this does, like, to me, again, this reveals the shades of hypocrisy in these people who sit in luxury and tell others what to do, and they're literally his own people are enslaved so he could have the luxury of freedom, and his own people get their kids fed to dogs because the guards felt like it.
Because it was interesting.
Their own people get abused and killed and sent off to war, and he's sitting in luxury. And now here he is telling you, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. I for a time I wanted to die, but now I don't want to die. I want to do the right thing." And it's like, if you were sorry, you would have done something about it. Okay? If you're gonna sit there and try to preach to the world about what you should do, you need to start practicing what you preach. The reason people took Mother Teresa seriously was because she every day lived out what she believed. Some of these freaking politicians are like, we need to be giving more money to poor people. I'm like, I love it. How much do you give to poor? What's your percentage of your income do you give to poor people? Let's look it up. Oh, okay. You don't. You just preach it and you just say whatever sounds good and you don't actually go through with it.
Dude, that's Willy Tybur. Like, here's Willy Tybur saying Willy Tybur I want peace for the world. Because he literally turns right here. He's like, I want peace for the world. King Fritz had good intentions. Therefore, let's go murder the island of devils. Like,
yeah,
literally
it's the only way. Again, he doesn't. I remember what I said. I predicted this.
So confusing.
I predicted
You actually did say this last episode. You said this exact thing.
I said, let me guess, his grand speech isn't going to start with personal responsibility. It's not going to start with charity and loving others. It's going to say, all these problems in the world are these guys' fault. Let's go kill them. So here in his speech, the reason I don't buy this, the reason I don't buy this is because he says, yeah, they're actually peaceful in paradise. King Fritz actually wasn't a bad guy. Everything you've been told is wrong. But if you join with me, we'll go kill the devils on the island. And you're like, you just said they weren't devils, bro. And he's like, no. Okay. They weren't devils, but one devil is there.
Yeah, he basically goes on. I'm looking for it because it's all chopped up. But his second half of his speech, he
talks about King Fritz and how he was going to keep his promise. And then that day of retribution, the day that they broke in the walls, it didn't happen because someone stole the power.
Yeah, someone stole the power.
And that's when he introduces that idea.
Mm-hmm. So, and he says, this is my atonement. The Titans and the walls, they've been a shield and they've been a sword. But the thing is that basically this power for peace has been co-opted by a rebel. His name is Eren Yeager. He's stolen peace, right? Like, he's the bad guy, and he sets the whole thing up, like, because it's interesting is they actually seem to know about the coup. Maybe because he basically makes it sound as if this society.
He does say there was a rebellion.
There's been a rebellion, and there's been a rebellion in the society that has, was once kind of for peace, and they were ruled by a king who wanted peace, but that king's power has been stolen, and now the whole society has turned, which is why he makes the argument that they're devils, is because they're now no longer on the side of peace. They're now on the side of war, which curiously enough is not entirely untrue, actually. So.
I just think it's funny how he's like, in order to guard the peace, we have to murder everybody, and you're like. That's exactly what like some of these Hitler-esque figures say. Yeah. That's what the politicians always tell you is like, in order to do the good, we have to do this terrible thing. And you're like, wait a second.
Sounds like a speech I just heard 2 days ago.
It always starts with the humanization. It always starts with the other side, us versus them.
Yeah, the other side is always wrong. They're not possible. It's not possible they could do anything good or have like.
And there's no redemption.
There's no redemption for them. These are the infidels, which is what this the family moment with Reiner and Gabby and his parents, and they're like, those island infidels, those island devils, they're so bad, they're so awful, and he's like, there's all kinds of different people there, like and they're like shocked. They're like, that can't be possible that among these wicked people that there's somebody who wants to do something good or even normal. Yeah, like that is
You can't give what's been dehumanized again and again and again in order to justify your atrocities. You can't give that a human element.
Yeah.
And in the midst of this, we pan back to Magath, and he says he has a report, General. All the warriors are missing,
and the soldiers or whatever, the soldiers who were supposed to take them or whatever, and they're all gone.
And he says, "Has it begun?" Yes, it has begun.
Yep. You're darn right, dude. You're darn right. That's when they cut to that scene where they're all cramped in the hole. Pick and Galliard are cramped in the hole, and they actually mentioned the scrawny one. He was scrawny. That's why I think he's Armin.
Yeah. So Willy Tybur says the peace was stolen. Right, an uprising took place. We go back to Eren. That person's name is Eren Yeager. We go back underground, and Falco says, "You tricked me. I respected you." Eren says, "I'm sorry, Falco. I needed your help." And Falco goes, "The letters. No." And he said, "Yeah, they weren't to my family. They were to my comrades."
My comrades. We knew he was working with other people, and now we know for sure.
Reiner says,
meanwhile, Eren's just casually growing his leg back.
Yep.
Yeah. Eren like begins to transform. Like this is such a poetic like transformation of he's turning into the person that Willy's like,
It's like wiggling his toes and looking at them.
And he says, there's a stampede threat from paradise. The vow that was made, before it was made to be able to stop war, but now that rumbling has begun. And if it begins, then we'll all just flee in vain as they trample everything down.
Yeah. He says this rumbling could begin at any moment, which is so perfect. You're right, buddy.
It actually can.
Yep. And he says, Eren says, yep, it's just like Willy says, I'm the bad guy, right? Which, again, all this remains to be seen. We don't actually know how this ends, but that's kind of contrary to what we believe. He's obviously painted a very broad stroke up there, Willy is. And he says, but to me, you guys were bad guys too. When my world was taken down, I watched my mom get eaten. Why, Reiner? Why was my mom eaten?
Yeah, why did you break why was she...
Reiner says, because on that day we broke the wall.
And why did you break the wall?
He says, to sneak in and see how the king would react, and in the midst of chaos, steal the founding Titan power. And Eren says, if it was to save the world, then you didn't have much choice, did you?
I told you, I'm the same as you. He keeps saying that.
And Reiner says, you made a vow too. You said one day you were going to kill us all. You were going to make us all suffer.
In the worst possible way.
And Eren says, yeah, you can forget about that.
He's like, I vaguely remember saying that.
Yeah, I once saw everyone on this side of the sea as my enemy. But then I came, and I slept under the same roofs as them. And I saw that, sure, they were jerks, but they were good people too. We are the same, Reiner.
Yeah.
Across the seas, within the walls, it's the same. And then he kind of like gets on Reiner's level, right? Now, so let's just give some parallel here. Who else was told to save the world, you have to journey across the sea?
Reiner and the gang.
Reiner and the gang, right? They were kids. They were given this propaganda. You got to save the world. These are the island devils, right? So they crossed across the sea. They slept under the same roof. They experienced, they ate the same, and they
started
realized,
to feel for them. They started to become friends and brothers.
Maybe not everybody on this side of the sea is actually my enemy.
There is a fantastic Abraham Lincoln quote where he says, there's a man I don't like very much. I need to get to know him better. And that's the heart of it. That's the heart. This is if you could boil down human righteousness and unrighteousness to like one thing, especially in our like current like atmosphere, it really comes down to this: is are you willing to get to know someone that you hate, that you think you don't like, that you think you hate everything about them, that there's nothing good about them, but can you spend time with them? Can you listen to them? And can you hear them? Because if you can, like you can open up your heart, and if you can sleep under the same roof and get to know them,
they might not be an enemy anymore.
They might not be such an enemy anymore. You might start to realize who they really are.
That there's more in common. There's more that unites us than divides us.
Yes, and on the flip side of that, if it's no, there is no hope for them. These are infidels. These are the unredeemable. That's unrighteousness. That's the wickedness. Like that's the wickedness of the human heart. That is deception has taken root, and don't let it happen to you. Don't let it happen in real life. And Doggum, I hope it stops in this show at some point.
So Reiner says, are you going to make us suffer? And Eren says, you didn't have much choice. It was drilled into you as kids, right? This propaganda. I came and I slept under the same roofs as them. I saw that they were jerks, but there's also good people too. We are the same. Across the sea, in the walls, it's the same. You knew nothing. You were just kids. Hasn't that been what's eating away at you?
He knows Reiner's haggard and like thinned out and not taking care of himself. He may even know he made an attempt on his life. Like, I don't know.
We don't know. He seems like he's inside his mind. He's occupying space inside Reiner's mind, and he is reading his thoughts right back to him, and he's not doing with malicious intent. It seems like
he's trying to just bring him out. He's trying to like call out the real Reiner.
Redemption. So he says, you're wrong, Eren. That day when Marcel got eaten, Annie and Bertolt, they tried to go back.
He tried to end the mission.
I made them go on, and he falls on all fours, almost like he's bowing, like he's repenting. He's welling. And I remember the beginning of this episode.
Yep.
Bertolt says, "Why did that guy tell us that before he killed himself?" I think he wanted to be judged.
This is what Reiner's going for right now. Reiner does feel the guilt of it. He even says, I talked them into it. I wanted to be hero. I wanted to be respected. It's all my fault. Your mother was eaten because of me.
And at this point, he's crying.
Yeah, he's like crying. He's on the ground.
And he's in the position of actual repentance. Like,
okay.
In Japanese culture, that's a thing. When you're apologizing to someone, you get down on all fours and you put your hands in front and you put your head down on the floor.
I love that, man.
And you say whatever it is that's on your heart.
So can we just juxtapose real quick?
Yes.
What's happening on the stage right now?
He's spinning it and saying, "Let's go kill everybody."
Up on top, there's this parallel going on, right? Above and below,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
There's a similar parallel. However, there's a difference. One person is trying to use the emotion to get everybody riled up to do what they want.
To do violence, yeah.
To go do violence, right? And one person is genuine in their apology. Here's Willy. He's, I'm sorry, I was a hypocrite. I lived in luxury. But now, people of all the earth, if we unite together, there's nothing that can stop us, right?
Right.
And so here...
Meanwhile, I'm going to continue to live in luxury, by the way.
Right, of course.
I'm not going to give anything
He's
up.
not going to give it up. Yeah. So Reiner says, it's my fault. He takes personal responsibility. He apologizes. He owns his wrong. And he says, just kill me. And Willy Tybur says, I don't want to die. I want to unite the world in this beautiful... it's completely the opposite. He's not really sorry. He's not really repenting. He's not willing to accept the punishment for all the sins he's done. He wants to co-opt the movement, right?
Yeah.
But here, Reiner is like, I'm ready. Go ahead and kill me. I wish I was dead.
Two opposing visions.
Completely. It's like, man, when you're confronted with your sin... Do you get prideful or do you humble yourself?
Yeah.
It's
this episode plays into
the part
really
where
hard.
Reiner breaks down and says, all that stuff. I was like,
no, I started to.
I almost started crying. I did get tears in my eyes.
I've never felt for the guy the way I felt for him right here at this point, because his exact line at the very end, he says, "I'm sick of this. I'm sick of myself. Just kill me." And we know this man just made a suicide attempt days before this, or a day like not long before this. He barely made it out. He barely decided to live to carry on for the sake of these young warrior recruits that are underneath him. This guy is at the end of his rope, and he's exactly what you're saying with the Bertolt thing. He wants to be judged. He wants there to be, he knows there needs to be justice. He thinks is justice. He wants there to be justice for the sins he's committed, and he knows
he wants a clean conscience.
Yeah, well, in order for justice to be done, he knows he's like, I must be killed for it. I should die for what I've done. That's the way that he feels. And Eren doesn't do it. Eren does the opposite, and he reaches out his hand towards him and he pulls him up.
Okay.
Now it gets weird after that, but he does pull him up.
Let's just focus there for a second. There's a couple of things that I wanted to point out right here. It's really good. One is, dang. Okay, the second thing.
It's good.
It's really good. Okay. All right. So the second thing is, here, if you guys remember, there's a character who's weak. There's a character who doesn't have it all together. There's a character who is kind of universally hated, baby Reiner. And he's made fun of. He doesn't have what it takes. He feels weak. He feels terrible. He goes to be accepted by his friends. They don't accept him. Accepted by his job, his military. They don't accept him. They all think he's worthless, right? Galliard beats him up. He goes to be accepted by his father. His father rejects him. He feels like he's not measured up. He's not worth it. He's nothing, right? And he finds himself in this cycle of rejection, of hate, of complete despair. And a young Eren Yeager falls on his knees, not in repentance, but falls on his knees and says, I can't be like you, Reiner. I'm not strong. I'm not good.
Yeah.
And Reiner offers him a hands up. He offers him redemption.
He pulls him off the ground.
He doesn't despise him.
He says, keep moving forward.
He doesn't despise him. He doesn't spit on him the way he was spit on, the way Annie and everybody beat him up. He doesn't say you're weak, you're trash, or
just
whatever.
Give up.
He ends the cycle, and he starts a new cycle of redemption. It's like Melchizedek.
Yeah.
And it's not Melchizedek. It's Mephibosheth and David.
Yeah.
Right. He offers him redemption. He ends the cycle of judgment. He ends the cycle of hatred and abuse. And he says, here, just keep moving forward, right? So now here's this
fast
years
forward to
later,
current,
right? And here's Reiner falling on all fours saying, Eren, I'm a sinner. I'm terrible. I've done all these wicked things. Kill me. And Eren extends the hand out, the same hand that was extended to him, right? The cycle has been renewed. Eren's not going to judge him the same way that he feels like he deserved to be judged. He lifts him up and he says, I think that we're the same, you and me. I'm the same as you. I was born this way. We keep moving forward.
Yeah, they're fighters. These are two guys who are. He's saying the similarity between you and I is that inside of both of us is a fight to save the world and a fight to give freedom to everybody. Like the underlying motivation, though warped and twisted at times, the underlying motivation, the desire to correct wrongs and to set the world right again is still in there. I identify with that.
Yeah, they're both their goals was to save the world.
Yeah,
they both wanted to do that, And
yeah. And then, meanwhile, Willy Tybur's out there like, join me in the fight against the devils in paradise. And like, okay, all right. As a representative of Marley, I proclaim a declaration of war.
you asked for it, buddy. You're going to get it good and hard, okay? You want war? War's coming to you whether you like it or not.
Okay. And then Eren's eye turns green, and he's like...
He says, I have to keep moving forward until I crush all my enemies.
Yeah, until I kill all my enemies. And his eye starts to turn colors, and a little electricity starts going, and we see in slow-mo Reiner
Reiner's
turn.
like, oh, crap!
It's like, I got to protect,
he turns to grab
Falco's
Falco.
right there. He grabs Falco to protect him, and Eren just freaking
shoots
pops a lid,
the
dude.
stage. He shoots the stage, and he grabs Willy. He's like, you want
Blood
war,
goes
buddy?
flying. I think it's coming from Eren's hand.
Oh,
he
my
punched
gosh.
through the ceiling.
You
Such
got
a
it.
cool scene. So
I'm
epic.
so pumped. This next episode, okay, in the like teaser thing, the first thing they show is like, okay, the whatever Attack Titan appears, kills mercilessly, and then the Warhammer Titan. The war timer, don't you know? He pops out and is like ready to do battle with Eren, which tells us one of two things. Either A, because it looks like Willy Tybur's about to be eaten. Either if Willy Tybur has the power, he finds a way to not get eaten. He like transforms right there, which from the preview doesn't look like that's what happened.
Or it's like we were saying earlier, Willy Tybur doesn't have the powers.
He doesn't. He's the face. Because he's such a good orator. He's such a good leader. Like they don't bother to give him a 13-year death sentence.
It's some Yoda figure. One of those old people or one of the younger ones has the Titan power.
It's his mom.
That's kind of what I think. I actually would be surprised to see Willy die right here and
I think Eren's
another layer
gonna
of the
crunch him in
onions
half.
peeled back, and there's somebody else behind
It's
the whole
somebody
thing.
else. Dude, if he dies right here, this will be a sick shot. Just the whole thing, just the way it went down was
Justice
just perfect.
is served.
You want
good and
war,
hard.
buddy?
Okay.
War is coming to you.
Things to keep in mind for future episodes, predictions section here. I think that, it seems obvious other players are around. I think we've got Jean. I think we've seen him. I think we've seen Armin. We're almost positive that he's around. And I tend to think that...
You got to know Mikasa's around somewhere.
Mikasa, exactly.
Yeah, she never leaves
She never leaves Eren.
I don't know if all our original scouts are here or not, but I do know that this place has been heavily infiltrated. They just took care. We were doing the math. Okay, so they just took care of Galliard. So just call them by their Titans. They just took care of the Jaw and Cart Titan are incapacitated. They're out of the fight. Okay. They sent Zeke away to a different gate, which I assume is a separate trap.
I really hope they incapacitate him because he's a monster.
There's a plan for Zeke. Now the question is,
for sure, is Levi going to execute him right here or what?
Is Levi going to be in a dark alley smoking a cigarette like I've been waiting?
Oh Lord!
I made a promise to Erwin.
Baby Ishiyama, give us what we need. Okay,
Justice.
I need justice. So at least two of them are taken out of the equation. They've only got a total of 5 powers, right? Or a total of 4? 4. Because so they got Cart and Jaw out of the equation. Reiner's out of the equation. He's underground. He's just safe. Now he might come back into it at some point, but for the moment, he's out. So you got 3. So that leaves the Warhammer Titan and the Beast Titan. But the Beast Titan we think is also taken care of. We think. Zeke may be. We're not sure if he's going to show up.
We're definitely about to see. There's no way they just hey, go walk away, and then oh crap, get it all done before he comes back. No, he's dangerous at a distance.
Yeah,
there's a trap for Zeke,
a special trap, for
and
him.
it might be named Colossal Titan.
I freaking hope so.
Zeke is also extremely smart too, so you know he's going to need to be dealt with by somebody clever and quick.
Armin might be like, "Hey Zeke, stay right there, or I'll freaking kill us all. You think I'm lying? I'll do it, buddy."
Yeah, I'll light this match. Okay, I'll light this match. So they have the Colossal Titan. Eren just popped out, and I just want to say, he looks even more jacked, even bigger, even scarier. I don't know if that's new studio just doing their thing,
or he's been working out,
or even I want to say he's been hitting those Titan weights,
lifting those ships. He's got the ships.
Well, he's older. He's grown. You know,
and I'm saying Homeboy is probably if he learned all the powers he learned in a couple of months, basically, and it's
he's had 4 years.
He could defeat. Now. Trained Titan warrior killers beforehand. Who knows what dude is capable? And he has the founding. I'm just saying, we don't really know. His power level is over 9,000. Okay, that much I can say for sure.
For sure.
But yeah, this battle, dude, is okay. Last thing I was gonna say in the trailer, I already mentioned this in a previous episode, but I've been talking about this. I've rewatched the trailer a few times. As of episode 4, we had seen 80%, 85% of everything in the trailer had already happened. Within the first 4 episodes of the season. So my gut was telling me, I'm willing to bet you that the rest of what's in the trailer, Annie and the Crystal and the Titan fights and stuff like that, we see in the next few episodes, and that the truth of the matter is the trailer only showed us maybe
half.
9
What's
episodes
coming?
in. Yeah, just like half-ish of this half of the first half of the last season. That's my guess, is that we know very, very little, and there is a massive there's gonna be massive upsets. Like I'm just calling it right now. Like
I love it. I'm
there's gonna
excited.
be a massive, like a whole new crap gets opened up. I just can't about guarantee it.
What if we go cross? What if the next part of like this of season 4 is like them fighting all over the world, cross nations? With you got Ackermans and you got Asians and you got
It certainly seems possible.
traipsing around the world fighting Titans. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think it's cool how there seems to be an air of redemption. Eren really seems to be wanting to get Reiner and tell him like, hey, I don't blame you. You were just told a bunch of lies. Let's go make it right. I think he wants to get Reiner on his side. I think kind of a bad way of doing that is bursting to the floor and killing a bunch of people.
Yeah, I think he just screwed his relationship with Falco. I mean, Falco already feels betrayed, but then to have this happen right in front of him, like, you gotta wonder, like, what was your master plan?
Yeah.
Well, he did say, I'm the bad guy, and then blew up. So.
Yeah, so maybe Eren's going full bad guy mode. He's just like, I am the bad guy. I have to do what I have to do. I feel like this is the only way to save the world. But even so, I feel like maybe he's saying, you'll understand my actions, Falco, when you're older.
Dude,
you know?
I kind of wish he had said run right before he changed.
Yeah.
He gave Reiner all the warning he needed. He like gave him the eye and the
His eye
electricity.
went crazy.
Like he knew, like, hey buddy, I'm about to do this. I'm about to blow this mother. So okay, the Asian lady or whatever like departs. I think she's in on it. I think she's in on the whole thing.
For
I think Magath / at least Magath. I maybe not the Tybur so much, but I think Magath was preparing for something like this. So we're gonna see a counter punch here for sure. He's got some. There's some other plan in the works. This is going to be quite a surprise, but I doubt it's going to be like
a complete victory.
Yeah, I don't think this is where like everything just, they don't just win. However, good on them on Paradise for being like, oh look, this is actually a soft target once you get inside. Like none of these people have weapons, none of them fight. There's only a handful of Titans. If we can take out a handful of Titan shifters,
are they going to take out all of Marley and's military leaders all in a one fell swoop?
That's what I'm hoping for. I hope Eren just like takes his palm and just like, hey guys, like,
you want war, buddy?
Well, I mean, that's what Annie was doing to the scouts in the woods. She was just crushing people like bugs.
The preview said he kills mercilessly, and I hope the merciless killing is all of freaking Marley's like top brass. That would be wonderful, actually. But yeah, I think what's her face is in on it. I think kind of the rest of the plan unfold. I think this is where we maybe even see the spec ops like scouts like.
You think
all
they come
in
and they just rush Zeke and with thunder spears and guns and start wrecking him?
I mean, even the Warhammer, like, all I know is Marley's in freaking trouble, okay?
Oh, yeah.
They are in trouble. Whatever this plan is, they're not getting out scot-free. And that's why I have to wonder if the whole, like, defeating of Marley... Just dream with me here. What if defeating Marley happens pretty quick here?
And the rest of the world is a different story?
Yeah, so the story takes an even bigger turn, like, after Marley's defeat. Like, the whole world, this is plunged into war or something. I don't know.
All right, let's do a quick spoiler-ish section. There's no spoilers, but we want to talk about some theories.
Those are my theories. I got them all out already.
Oh, well, hang on a sec.
Okay.
We're going to the theory section.
I have to take my jacket off. I was spitting my theories like who's a famous rapper who raps really fast?
NF.
Yeah, but like he's like I need like a classic like
Eminem.
Okay,
Static Cling is.
But who raps really fast? Who's famous rapping
what's
fast?
His name?
It's like an old school rapper.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What's his name is really good.
Dr. Dre, does he rap fast?
Pitbull.
Wow, my rap knowledge is minimal if you can't tell. So if you're a rap fan, I'm very sorry. I do like it. I just am kind of an idiot.
Same. Drop some bombs.
Spoiler away. What do you think?
This is actually what Becca's idea was. What if the reason they have so much intel on Marley is not just because they've been spying, but because they knew what to look for? How could they know what to look for? Future memories. Grisha Yeager knew what to kind of look for because he was told the future by the owl.
He specifically knew Mikasa and Armin's names. At the end of season 3, the owl was like, whose memories are these? Like the owl has some sort of like prophetic ability where he can like see into the future and like is like, yeah, you need to do it. You need to survive for their sake. And then Eren, when he's boy, the very first episode, has some future memory type things where he's kind of seeing the future, and he doesn't have his Titan power yet. And then we see it a third time in Falco, which is what makes me wonder, if like Falco's is
going to get a Titan power.
Yeah.
But the idea is is what if they have some sort of future memories where they have a few names. They have a name Falco. They have a name Gabby. I don't know. They have some of these names, some of these places that Eren's seen a couple things, and they're able to tap into that and say, okay, we're not looking for a needle in a haystack. We're looking for a place called Liberio, and we're looking for a person named Falco. And if we can go there and we can start setting up around that area, we can start getting intel on those people, it really would help them with their plot. Maybe they don't know anything about the future. Maybe it's all random, and maybe they just happen to be that good of spies collecting intel and formulating a plan. But maybe there's something going on there as well.
You got anything, Rach? Any theories or spoilers?
Well, we discussed this earlier, like in that same vein. Since Eren had future memories, that Al had future memories, and Falco has had future memories, does that mean he's going to be the next Attack Titan and not some other kind of
Or
Titan?
Is he just going to,
is it the Attack Titan that has the future memories? Because the Owl didn't have the Founding Titan. We were assuming that memories had to do with the Founding Titan, but
so you think Eren dies and Falco takes it over before the show's over?
I don't know, maybe.
Certainly possible. Like I said, I think we got a ways to go. It's at least possible.
So this is something I did notice. I didn't speak on it. Meninderpal says, when Willy says the line, "Because I was born into this world," Eren has a reaction. I didn't remember Eren's reaction, but I do remember that line stuck out to me because that's a line that Eren says. Mm-hmm. He says, "We were all born into this world, and we deserve to be free." And that's when he's lifting the big stone. He's taking its tross and he's putting it down. He's kind of giving his like freedom speech, like even if this was done for our good, it's not good because it's not true freedom, and humanity deserves to be free. Eldians, Marleyans, whoever you are, even if the plan was, oh, we'll go have this society, you're still oppressed. Marleyans still took over the world and fought everybody with a war machine. That's why I'm saying, even if Willy thinks that what his speech is saying is real, and he's thinking he's really confessing all these things, even so, there's still an element of falsity to it because the world isn't at peace. Marley didn't quell the Titan War and then say, okay, let's have an era of peace. No, they used the Titan powers for their own gain. They turned on the people who enslaved them and began to enslave them, which two wrongs don't make a right. It's terrible.
And probably another good point. Eren's mother says the same phrase, "You were born into this world," during the Kisades flashback. It's true.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
You are special. See, Eren, you are special. We know.
We're all born into this world. But what does that mean? If you're born in this world, Eren's mom said, that means you're special. That means you've been chosen. You hit the jackpot, and we better do something amazing with it. You better help humanity.
She sounds like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Appreciate it. Here, I think Willy, though, is saying, like, this is the way I was born, and so I'm going to do my best. I'm not sure, but ultimately, they're both looking at the same information and gleaning two very different.
Makes me wonder if he doesn't die in this next episode, because there's still a lot to uncover in this guy.
So the Warhammer jumps out and saves him in the last second,
or something, or Zeke does. Somebody interferes here. I'm not sure that he
got thrown up into the air.
He gets thrown up in the air, which is just enough of a delay.
That's why
somebody
as soon as I said that, I said, "Don't throw him up. Take him right to the mouth, okay? Because that's some hang time people there have to."
Take him right to the mouth and just take the head, right? Just like a
candy bar,
like a candy bar, like a Snickers bar.
I said instead of coming up behind the stage, he should have came up through the stage, with his mouth open, just like a
shark.
Yeah, just
close on him.
See you later. You want war? Declare war on this, brother.
Dang, I'm so mad.
That would have been kind of awesome, though. Like. The declaration of war.
I want to wait 2 weeks for this.
But would it have been better if they ended the 2 week break on this episode? You couldn't have made it.
No, yeah, you're right. It was better. The last one was better.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, we've been going for a long time. That's probably good.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you have questions, comments, you think we're wrong, that's totally awesome. Please drop us an email at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. We are happy to discuss with you. We obviously don't know it all. It's just our hot takes off of the show itself. We're learning, we're growing, and we're trying to find the meaning behind the art.
Yes, and I mean, I'm gonna say this: like, I've already had my mind changed a couple of times by people like submitting comments. We started the show because it's a conversation, right? It's not everything's clear, and it's like a conversation starter type of show. So genuinely, because we had a couple of people that sent like either left comments or like kind of like indicated to us they like disagree with something. That's like my love language. I welcome it. We all welcome it. Like if you are like pissed about something we said, you can send us an email. You can leave comments. Like, yeah, no, seriously, I'm wide open to it because I always express my opinion very like strongly, and I like recognize that.
Of course, yeah.
Especially because somebody called me out on the Ymir stuff, and I was like, okay, that's actually fair. Like, I was really strong on Ymir, but she does find some redemption a little bit.
Yeah.
And
like, I think we changed our opinion. As if you watch our episodes, we were really harsh at first, but as we got to know Ymir more, we kind of began to sympathize more and more with her, and we kind of changed our opinion a little bit.
As you look deeper into the character, she's complex, as is everyone in the show. So
Reiner.
Becca still hates her though, apparently.
That's fine.
Anyway, so that being said, email us beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't already and you've been listening this long, seriously, go. You're enjoying the show, just go real quick over to, it's no longer iTunes, it's Apple Podcasts, or to wherever you listen to your podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. That'd be very helpful.
Yeah.
If you're on the best YouTube, way to kind of support the show.
Hit a like and give us a subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Words are hard.
Seriously, join us live on Facebook on Sunday nights. My goal is to have like a whole like hopping crowd of people here for like whatever the final episodes are. We just have like a whole bunch of people and we can all just be freaking out together. That would be amazing. Although, if I'm really honest, that could be like 2 years from now. Like, God,
Paris did say that.
And there's going to be movies probably.
They said the final chapter basically is going to be released on April. The final
of the manga.
So
the manga's out in April, which
that's
means
going to finish.
Which means it seriously could be a full year. I think this season goes 16 episodes, stops. We wait about 12 months. We get another, between, let's say, 11, 12, all the way up to another 16, as many, and then to finish it, maybe like a feature film
like
type of thing.
2-hour movie or something.
Dang.
Could be.
Or 2. Sometimes.
We're here for it, you guys.
Yep, all of it. All right.
Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for joining the squad.
Love you guys.
We will catch you on the flip side.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and listening to our show, Beyond the Basement Podcast. If y'all are enjoying it, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever else you listen to our show. Check out the description below for links to our awesome Attack on Titan merchandise. And join us live on Sunday nights on Facebook for all of Season 4. And some of our best content is on YouTube, including me, so go ahead and check that out. And lastly, if you guys have any questions or just want to chat with us, please email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.